Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Joe Kavanagh, Lord Mayor of Cork, and it is my great honour, on my own behalf and on yours, to bestow the Cllr Award 2021 on Joseph McCarthy, known far and wide to all as Joe Mack. To bestow this honour on any individual is both the easiest and most difficult thing for any Lord Mayor to do. It is difficult only in that it is hard to single any individual out of the 1,000 who might deserve the honour. The easy part is when it's Joe Mack, and you can't believe that no one else has done this before. When you look at how much he has achieved and contributed for more than 2 generations, it is hard not to believe that he's not 140 years old. With a long career in music, theatre, comedy and business, Joe is as much part of the fabric of Cork as Shandon, the Shaky Bridge or the English market. Many of you, if you are fortunate enough as I have been, will have encountered him in one of his many residencies over the years. In my case, the Silver Springs Hotel. Many before will remember him for the dizzy heights of the showband days, but the one thing we all have in common is that we were entertained. Being in Joe's company is not for the faint-hearted. You are as likely to be at the receiving end of his mischievous humour as the consumer of it. About the only thing I can say for certain is that we share a first name and a connection with tennis. Joe is the city's favourite mischievous uncle. He brings his own positivity, good humour and energy every place he goes. After this brief introduction, we will let Joe tell his history and reminiscences in the company of the irrepressible Alf McCarthy, and the Lady Mayoress Stephanie and I will have the privilege of a front row seat. We hope you can stay with us and enjoy the Joe Show, and join me in thanking Joe for all he has given to the city for decades, and hope he will continue to do so long into the future.
My name is Michelle Carew, and I am the Arts Officer for Cork City Council. The Arts Office is housed in the Community, Culture and Placemaking Directorate of Cork City Council, and this reflects the role of the arts and their importance in people's lives, in communities, and for creating our sense of place. The arts can be a source of enjoyment, available to everyone, and certain artists truly encapsulate that notion throughout their career. When it was announced that this year's Cllr Award was to be presented to Joe Mack, I thought it was entirely fitting. Joe is from Cork, in Cork, and of Cork. He's from a family of stonemasons, but is, at his core, an entertainer. If you were to go out onto Patrick Street now and tell whomever you met of a certain age that this year's Cllr Award was being presented to Joseph Terence McCarthy, you'd probably be met with blank stares. Tell them it's being presented to Joe Mack and it's a different story. The most likely reaction would first be one of recognition, followed almost certainly by a smile. Joe has not only entertained us in his many guises over the years, he has reminded us what it is to enjoy ourselves, our rich lives, our friends, and our city. His legacy spans over decades where, invariably, we've gone from boom to bust and back again many times. And he reminds us of how we used to cope and laugh at ourselves. He reminds us to park our troubles and enjoy our friends and remember we've been here before and survived. This past year has presented us with challenges unlike anything we've faced in recent history. But Joe's resilience and irrepressible good humour reminds us we're up to that challenge. Congratulations on your award, Joe, and thank you for bringing out the best in us by being the best of you.
Now we move on to the exciting part of this afternoon's event, and I'm delighted to welcome Alf McCarthy, who everybody knows, to have a casual chat with Joe. The floor is yours, guys. Chat away.
Well, thank you, Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress. Thank you for inviting me to meet with Your Majesty.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm elated, delighted, excited.
What is it like? Come on now, Joe. Has it kind of changed your outlook in life now that you become a cultural icon?
And I got the phone call a couple of weeks ago from, it was truly, like I was more than shocked. I'm 84, I'll be 85 this year. You know, it's time for the pipe and the slippers. You know, this is it. So I'm delighted, thrilled.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Where we're sitting, the Lord Mayor's office,
yeah.
Anglesey Street, This is where you grew up?
My first day at school across the road. Benny Donovan. Yeah.
In the model school?
Yeah, she loved me.
Did she?
Yeah, she breastfed me. And she said,
As Gaeilge, though.
she said, here's your dinner. I said, I'll never eat all that.
Did you enjoy school over there?
I loved it. And I was brilliant. I had a fine and everything. I was brilliant. Brilliant in Irish. And we had Ristard Murphy and Mossy Danigan and all the characters. So when I left there, I was fluent in Irish. I went to the Northman, where I had to translate everything. Even Latin was done in English up there. I was a multilingualist by the time I was 15.
You were multi in 2 languages.
Yeah. So I took to a profession then. I went on the hop. I went on the lang.
And your house, and I was just looking at it the other day, is literally around the corner from here in Copley Street. What was it like growing up there?
It was great. It was like living in the Wild West, because Marsh's Yard, which was an auctioneer's place, they had a big yard. They used to have sheep and cattle sales regular, once or twice a week. And you got to hold the calves for the farmers, hold the horses, and you got a few bob. And we often took a pony and trapping around town while the lads were doing the business.
And of course, you have an older brother, Tom.
Yeah.
Did you look up to him, or did he look up to you?
I was afraid of him. I was afraid of him. I looked up to him, of course, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And of course, the family business, Thomas McCarthy and Sons, Stonecutters, was just next door to where you lived.
Yeah. Tell me about it. The dust.
Yeah.
The dust that came in our house. My mother used to be cursing every day. Not that she would.
Yes.
But my father would come home, he was like a snowman,
Yeah.
covered in dust and lime and whatever. And you could hear him shouting with your father, God be good to him. And they're screaming at each other, having a fight. And then they'd all walk across the road to a pub to settle it.
Yes.
And get
Which you
langers.
had to.
Yeah, had to be done.
Yeah. Were you ever enticed to go into the business, Joe?
I think once I picked up a chisel.
Yeah.
And it was cold and clammy, and I said, no. Not me.
But your brother Tom did.
He did, yeah, and became quite good. He was quite a good stonecutter.
And when you think of it, like all your nephews, a good few of your nephews in your family went into the business.
Oh, they did.
As well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, keeping the tradition alive.
It was an art. It's an art form. There's letter cutters and there's figure cutters and stonemasons. My father was the boss over there. And stone deaf. My father was stone deaf.
And my father was a bit deaf as well.
Yeah.
And Uncle John and Buddy talking to each other was always, huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
The two of them like having the battle of the hads, really.
Yeah, and the language you can't use here now.
Yeah. One of my prized possessions is that photograph of both of them and a cousin of ours, Tiggy, working on the Cork coat of arms, which is now over the customs building over across town. And they worked on that, and it's a great thing to see it.
They did, and they erected it and everything.
Yeah.
You know, I think Marshall Hudson or
That's right.
Murphy, the sculptor.
Yeah, who designed it, and then they chiseled it and put it up.
But there's a lot. They put up the Bale and the Blah monument as well.
That's right.
And my brother cut the letters on that.
Yeah.
And my father worked as an apprentice on the pillars of this building here, the City Hall. Yeah.
Amazing.
And your father played the saxophone in a band.
He did, yeah. And of course, the McCarthys had their own band.
They were a show band. They were first of the show bands. Buddy Mack and his All-Stars. They used to do a song called The Rich Maharaja from Magador.
I was telling
and
somebody
they had
about
a
that
camel
region.
costume.
That's
and
right.
two of them would get into the camel costume.
That's right.
And the fellow used to complain in the back that the fellow in the front was farting into his face.
On behalf of my father, may I just say, that's a true story.
It is.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Where did the music come from, Joe?
My mother's side. My mother sang non-stop. All the jazz numbers that I know today and I sing today, she'd sing all them. All the music from the shows, no, the Merry Widow, she'd be at it all day. And when I started kind of tipping around and I got a pair of brushes, you know, drummer's brushes, and I'd be asking her to sing this one and I'd be accompanying her on the table.
Yeah.
And that's where it came from.
And that was the beginning of it.
That was the beginning of the want
Yeah.
and the hunger.
Yeah. And when you think, I'm trying to think of this would have been in the 40s, wouldn't it? Like, I mean, you were born in 36.
Yeah.
So these were tough times in Cork.
Well, I was happy. God Almighty, I was a happy child, because we never wanted for it. And we had black bread, bread made from potatoes or something, whatever. But we had no sweets, no fruit, nothing. Ration books.
Yeah.
And blackout at night. Curtains drawn, and airplanes going over, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Did you like growing up in Cork City?
I loved it. I adored Cork.
Yeah.
Even when I went away, I ran away from home when I was 20.
How far did you go, love?
Oh, Dagenham. I had an aunt in Dagenham. And the Dixies they were formed at the time, but I felt we weren't going along fast enough, and there was a bigger world out there. So I took the skin off of the bass drum, put my clothes and my toothbrush and 2 underpantses. It was going to be a long
Thanks
stay.
be to God
It was
for
going to
2
be a long
underpantses.
stay. So put him into the drum, bought my ticket, and down to the Innisfallen. And I'm standing on the back of the Innisfallen waiting for him to cast off. And I say, my father. Oh, cry, I nearly died.
Yeah.
That was the 1 underpants gone.
And of course, the Innisfallen used to sail from Penrose Quay at that time.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. God.
Anyway, I went to England and so worked in a subsidiary of Ford's and worked in loads of jobs, couldn't settle down. Started playing on a Sunday morning with a couple in a pub. And then a couple of us formed a skiffle group. And we used to busk outside chip shops and pubs and everything like that. And so eventually then I said, this is as far as I'm going to go on the side of the Atlantic.
Yes.
So I headed home.
But you, at one stage, did you join the Butter Exchange Band, or were you just thinking of joining?
No, I did. I joined the Butter because I wanted to learn the trumpet.
Right.
So I went up to the Butter and they said, we have no vacancies in the trumpet, but there's the horn, B flat or upright horn. They say the fingering is the same, so you'll be learning that. You're the same as a trumpet. So went a few times, you're learning that. And one night we were at a dance in the School of Commerce, or the College of Commerce, myself and my buddy, and there was a band playing a little quartet, and they took, you can read this in my write-up, they took a break, and after the break they came back, and the drummer was missing. And I said, the drummer must have got scuttled. So they said, anyone in the hall play the drums? And I went from there to there to here.
A star is born.
That's it. I said, the drums is for me. That's it.
So if ever a drummer gets drunk, put up your hand. That's the moral of this story.
That's the thing. And then I wanted to buy a kit of drums on the Never Never. My father said he would go guarantor if I signed up for lessons in the School of Music. That I had to do it properly, and I did. And I went, and I got so good that I was teaching the teacher how to play, and went on from there.
These are things that I haven't been aware of, I have to say.
Yeah.
You know, we are first cousins, and yet it's great to hear Joe Mack tell me a little bit about his life.
Yeah, but I had the drums in the house a week, practicing every day, driving the neighbours mad. And a fella came to the door and he said, have you drums? I said, I have.
Have I drum? Did you hear them a block away?
He said, will you play Sunday night? Woodhill. So I said, grand. What time? 8 to 11. So I got the bus with the drums. There was a very small kit at the time. The bass drum, snare drum, the cymbals. I got the bus into town, got the bus down to Tivoli, got off a set-up and played. And got a pound into my hand at the end of the night.
Wow.
No, at that time I was an apprentice upholsterer in Cashes, now Brown Thomas, and I was getting 19 shillings a week.
Right.
So there I am, £1 for a night, and I went on from there.
Yeah.
I joined a couple of small bands and blah, blah, blah.
And how did the Dixies come about then, the Dixielanders?
The Dixies, no. Sean Lucy and Theo Cal were members of the Butter Exchange as well. They were playing, Theo I think was playing with Dolly Butler, a big band at the time. Sean Lucy was playing with Chris O'Brien, another big band. And we were very interested in jazz. Jazz was the big thing then. So we said, let's try. So we started rehearsing in my mother's front room. We
God
had Larry Neville on cornet. Christy Manny had a double bass.
Wow.
With a big pointy thing at the end, room my mother's lino. And we practiced. My mother used to love it. God, we'd play it. And the tune that we knew best, whatever the tune we knew, we'd always finish off with that at practice.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the Tiger Rag or the Saints Go
Yeah,
Marching
yeah.
In. Yeah, we went on from there.
So when you started then as the Dixielanders, how long would you play for? What kind of a set would you do?
Well, we used to do maybe 3 hours.
Wow.
We got the first offer of a gig in Shandon Boat Club, a 6-week residency on Sunday nights. And we did an audition for them in the H Hall. And the tune they wanted to hear was the can-can. Could we play the can-can? Of course we can, you know. The boys
We
were
can even dance, it says
trained
you.
brass musicians, you know what I mean? I said, you supply the dancers, we'll play the music. And we got the guy at 6 weeks every Sunday night for a £5, £1 a man.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Where did the humour come from, Joe? Because you're synonymous with being funny.
I suppose it was a defence system I had to build up. I'm wearing glasses since I was 8.
Oh.
And I got them around the corner here in the clinic, and they were like German spy glasses. Little wire things, you know. Herr Joseph! So you went to school with glasses, you were 4 eyes, 4 eye professor. And you had to develop an answer for that. Big nose, you'd have to have an answer.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how I defended myself and became funny and quick.
And did that hurt you when kids would jibe you like that?
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. I knew I was ugly. I had a big nose and big ears, you know.
So anyway, the Dixielanders have formed. You're getting very popular. How did it come then that it became the Dixies and you became, if you like, the showbiz sensation that the Dixies were?
Well, we got a big gig out of Shandon Boat Club to play in the college in the Rest. A big dance up there. Billy Brown was a big band. We were playing support to him. And the guy running the dance said, what do we put on the poster? What do you call you? So we have no name. And he said, well, you play Dixieland music, so we'll put down the Dixielanders. So the Dixielanders was born. And I went on then until Peter Prendergast became our manager. And he said, we'll abbreviate that now because it'll stand out better on a poster, Dixies.
Yeah.
So that's how it came.
All right. And it's kind of interesting to put it all in context, but going to a dance at the weekend and the Dixies are playing was a big affair, because I remember your cousins, my siblings, getting ready to go down the Arc to see you perform.
Yeah.
And like it was a big afternoon of getting ready to go out.
It was
you
a
know?
big business, yeah.
So how many people would be for example, down the Arc?
The biggest crowd we had in the Arc was 4,300.
You've had some great adventures with the Dixies and then obviously onto stage too. And you went to the States. Talk to me a little bit about working in the States and what it's like to be a homeboy from Cork playing in Las Vegas. What was that like?
It's a big jump now from New York to Vegas. But the first trip,
Yeah.
that is in the right up there. The first trip we did to New York in 1964, the same period of time, the Beatles were in New York, right? Now, I had a Beatle haircut.
They thought you were Ringo.
Yeah,
And you played the drums.
everybody, in fact, we opened the door to the apartment, the knock at the apartment. We had an apartment in the Woodward Hotel. And this old lady, Violet or something, I opened the door in my underpants and dark glasses. She said, holy Jesus, a Beatle! And people be asking for autographs, and I'd say, Ringo.
Yeah.
But then we went nearly every year to New York, Boston, Chicago. 3 weeks we'd be in the States, traveling all over the place. And Bill Fuller was our guy, the manager, promoter over there. Next thing we got a call from Bill to say, you're auditioning in Vegas a Friday night.
Wow.
So we made contact with the Royal Showmen, who were very big, well established in Vegas, and asked for a bit of advice as regards what kind of a program. And they told us to have plenty Irish, plenty fun, plenty this and plenty that. And we rehearsed for the week in the City Centre Ballroom in New York. Went to Vegas. we rented out tuxedos, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful blue shirts with frills, and we did. The audition was set up in one of the big auditoriums in Vegas, like main hall, and 6 promoters sitting in the audience, 6 big-time promoters. When you're ready, and the curtain went back. And I know myself or Steve said, ladies and gentlemen, we have 6,000 reasons why we hope you like us today. Each one of those reasons is a mile. Yeah. And if you're Irish, come into the parlour. And all 6 were interested. All 6 wanted us. But Rocky Stone was the guy. So we worked. He signed us up for the Desert Inn for 9 weeks and 6 weeks. We did 15 weeks.
And that must have been hard work, Joe.
That was hard work.
Yeah.
3 shows a night, 50 minutes a show, starting at 8, finishing at 3 or 4. And you couldn't go for a drink in between shows because by the time the ended, you'd be scuffled.
Yeah.
But we loved it as well and met a lot of famous people.
Yeah. You tell the story of meeting Chubby Checker.
That was in New York. That was the
Yeah.
day before. I met Chubby Checker on Broadway. All of us walking down our first day in New York. And we had met Chubby in Belfast months earlier on. We helped him out with amplification. And we were all gathered around Chubby on Broadway. And next thing, Fats Domino's walking down the street.
Wow.
And Chubby said, hey, Fats, meet my friends from Ireland.
Yeah.
I said, Jesus, I'm never going home.
That must have been a great moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Was there rivalry, Joe, back in Ireland between the show bands?
Of course.
Yeah.
Friendly rivalry.
And how did that manifest itself?
The top guys, like the Royal, the Miami, whatever, there was a load of Cllr, you know.
Yeah.
And if you were to pass them on the road and you were trying to upset their travel, like throw powder or eggs at their van and things like that, something small.
I used to follow you when Fitzpatrick's had the Silver Springs Hotel, and it was the highlight of the week, really. As at the time I was working up in Fitzpatrick's. I was actually a tennis coach in the leisure centre going way back then, and we used to look forward to Sunday, the jazz. And when the jazz festival came, we knew you were playing down in the, is it Acton's Hotel? I think it's Acton's Hotel you were playing in. So we all decamped down to Acton's, and we used to get beautiful cocktail bangers and mash. I think they used to dish out for people at lunchtime. But the highlight of the day was going to follow you down there, and the crack was equally the same. And Alf alluded to it there when he said that people love you. I mean, when it was announced out on the media platforms over the last number of weeks that you were being recognised by the people of Cork, not by me, but by the people of Cork for everything you've contributed, it was just incredible. The amount of people reaching out here. I had a guy in, for example, during the week who received a Civic award, who worked in the Black Swan pub across the road, Dennis O'Donovan.
Oh, I know Dennis.
Dennis does
well.
Incredible charity work.
Yeah.
He's one of these people who just gives of himself to the people, like you, in a different kind of way. And he spoke very fondly of you, and indeed your father, who he knew from the Black Swan.
He loved my father.
Yeah, absolutely, and spoke very fondly.
There was where we used to play in Silver Springs, there was blinds.
Yes.
Right. And when the place would be full, Teddy Moynihan had a sound on his keyboard, like a huge crowd applauding.
Yeah.
And I'd lift up the blind and I'd say, people of Ireland, I love you, and they'd all cheer.
Looking back over your career, Joe, I mean, I remember when RT Television used to do their annual Christmas pantomime.
Yeah.
And I remember you appearing in some of those. And for me, you know, being your cousin, but also being a Cork man, it would make us so proud to see you up there, you know, taking the mick out of the dubs.
The first pantomime we made was all the members of the show band. Brendan Boyer and Dickie were the ugly sisters. I was a fairy queen. Eileen Reid was a pig. Sorry, Eileen Reid was She was the Queen. Kelly was Cinderella. John Keogh was something else. Sean Duffy was a porter. But I was a fairy godmother.
Typecast again.
Fairy godmother. But I remember one of the lines from that. Larry Cunningham was the king, and Eileen Reid was the queen. And she said to him, "Will you love me when I'm old and ugly?" He said, I do.
And also the discipline, Joe, of working to a script as opposed to, as you can readily do, ad lib and make people laugh.
Yeah.
Did you find that discipline hard to do that?
Well, not in that particular, because I had only one song in that. But
Right.
I was then invited to play the whore housekeeper in Paint Your Wagon in the Opera
again?
House. I was Jake, the whore housekeeper. and towards the end of the show anyway, they're all heading away looking for the gold, and we're standing at the bar and saying, "Where are you going?" And they see, the place reflected. I said, "Where are you going?" And all the cats cracked up.
So where are you going, Joe? I mean, here you are. We're celebrating you and who you are and what you've given to us and to the city. So what's next for you, man?
Well, Billy Crosby is planning my 90th birthday.
That sounds good. That sounds good to me.
You will have to have a Zimmer frame to get in.
I might have, but you won't. And of course, Canty's has become almost like your headquarters in that.
Canty's
some
is-
people call it the annual weekly McCarthy get together, where all the cousins come in.
Weekly.
Yeah,
Canty's is a great gig.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I'm playing there with Oliver now. Oliver Keane. He a genius. He plays the violin, he plays the guitar, plays the accordion, and makes all the backing tracks.
yeah,
What a wizard of a man. Thank
Yeah.
you, Oliver.
yeah. Joe Mack, I love you, as you know, because we're flesh and blood, but I adore you because you are who you are. And I just want to thank you on behalf of the Lord Mayor and the Lady Mayoress and the city and people of Cork. Joe Mack, this is your life.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Are we happy with that?